Welcome back with number 5. This was another one that I really debated putting on the list because I wasn't sure how much of a chick flick it was. Again, I asked some friends who were into movies and I asked some friends who were women and they said yes, it counts. Although, it is, it has a lot of the elements of a typical chick flick, but it's a bit more of an out there comedy, a bit more off the wall, and I think it actually has a fairly large male fan base because of that comedy. But anyway, my number 5 pick is Bridesmaids, starring Who Really Cares because the only person you care about actor wise is Melissa McCarthy, and probably forgot who the others were. Melissa McCarthy plays the main comedy relief in this film, and she's also known for her role as Molly in Mike and Molly and Suki in Gilmore Girls, both of which are characters I love very much, and I love Megan from this movie just as much, no exception. Anyway, this film kind of covers a lot. The central focus is a woman finding out that her best friend is getting married, and then kind of sort of having a fight with another woman over who gets to be the best friend and who gets to help out the most during that wedding. We have a bunch of other side characters too, the other bridesmaids, who all have different character quirks, and they all have little side plots and stories within. But besides that, there's also kind of a more serious tone to this film, and it takes a look at some kind of heavy elements of the main character's life, like her struggle to find a career or to pay rent, and how she kind of hits a low point in her life with some of these, and it really has to draw on both reality and the surreality of comedy in order to make this whole plot work. The end is happy, but it can bring you through some pretty heavy times before it gets there, and I appreciate that it was willing to go there, and also appreciate that it was willing to say that there's hope no matter what. I'm also really fond of the love interest given to the main character in this one, the one whose picture we've just been scrolling down, because he's not really any of the archetypes you usually see in male love interests in these movies. He's not a bad boy, but neither is he this high school quarterback paragon of Abercrombie handsomeness. He's actually a very quirky character in his own right. Very sweet. He's a police officer, and he's more of the kind of guy that I would realistically see a woman in at least this circle that I've seen going for, as opposed to some of the other love interests who are stale, shallow, jerks that the movie doesn't seem to acknowledge. He's really different from that. And as I said, Melissa McCarthy's great, gives us some really great quotable lines. Air marshals, stealing puppies. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. If you haven't, it's still going to be a great surprise for you. Getting up to number 4 now, and I remember when I said back during the review of Chocolat that it seemed kind of like a less grown up version of a movie that would come later in the list. This is that movie. This is another one where I didn't really know if this counted as a chick flick, but once again, it centers around a female protagonist and her search for love, and actually, she's kind of a manic pixie dream girl when you really get down and think about it, but she's a stellar example of how to play that trope right, because she doesn't annoy me half as much as the others, and I can actually believe she exists, as opposed to most, say, Zooey Deschanel characters. And my number 4 pick is Amelie, or at least that's what it's called in the United States. It became very internationally popular, and the title was translated into many different languages. I believe the original French title translates to something like The Fabulous Adventures of Amelie. It's originally a French film, and it's in French with subtitles, which is I'm kind of biased to. That's kind of why I think this is a more grown-up version of Chocolat, is because this is actually French, genuinely. Whereas I believe Chocolat was produced by American studios. And also, it's more compelling. It's the story of a woman who decides to make an adventure out of her life, and she kind of makes the decision to be a quirky character. It's there's a series of events that influences her to do that. And much like in Chocolat, she gets involved in a lot of side character situations and subplots where she decides to help out and do good for others. The difference is that these situations are a lot more random and a lot crazier. You have to see to believe. Um, Also, it gets into her head a lot more, and that's why I think she's more believable of a character. Is because you're actually treated to her thought process. The film will sometimes give you a direct window into her daydreams, or there's one particular scene where she feels disappointed, so they have it that she turns into water and splashes out all over the floor, kind of to represent how she's feeling with her heart sinking. And there is a romance plot, which I think is done really well. It has some really unexpected turns, and I might as well mention that while most of the movies on this list are mature to some degree, this one is a lot raunchier than the rest on the list. And there are ways that that plays into the love story that really, if I spoil that for you now, it would ruin some of the most shocking and some of the most hilarious scenes. Let's just say that dirty things are referenced. I know, that's very vague. But really, I like how this film plays on its main character. It's named after its character. The film is the character. It's about her life, her thoughts, her search for love, and lawn gnomes as well. Remember back when lawn gnomes were funny? Maybe that was just me. I thought they were funny for a period, but anyway, Amelie, great movie. Number 3, if I get this one done quickly, we can wrap this list up in a total of 4 videos. I'm sorry it took 4 videos. This is yet another one, like Lizzie McGuire, that was aimed for a younger audience of women. This one is also much more definitely a chick flick, but it's more fondly remembered by its fan base than Lizzie McGuire. If you've seen it, you'll probably have good memories of it, hopefully, as soon as I bring up the title. And so let's not delay that any further. The Princess Diaries, starring yet another dream team of Anne Hathaway and Julie Andrews. And I think this is actually where Anne Hathaway got her start, though I can't be certain on that. This is an adaptation of an absolutely horrible book series. I read the books, they are not good. This movie is very good. Disney took the source material and really did a much better job than the original author was doing with it. Sorry, Meg Cabot, but the subject material just got done so much better here. The basic plot is about a high school girl who figures out that she is the heir to the throne of a small made-up European nation. And so she's trying to deal with this because when you're in high school, that's the last thing you need, is to have that kind of responsibility thrust upon you. And she recognizes this. That's one of the smart things about this movie, is that it knows that being a princess is more than just, wearing the crown and looking pretty. And so she has to deal with high school drama while attempting to get trained to take over as the ruler of an entire country. And this involves a lot of cliched high school scenarios with, the mean girl that plays pranks on her, and she falls in love with the cute guy, but he turns out to be a jerk. And much like in the Lizzie McGuire movie, she ends up with the romantic interest. He's pictured right there, you see him now, who's her quirky best friend. And he's way much less of a jerk than he is in the books. I'm sorry, I just had to say that now. I hate those books, but the love story between them is actually very believable, even though it's high schoolers. And the movie is also very funny, very quotable, very charming in a lot of ways. And I'm going to stop talking about it so we can get this done in 4 videos.